would like to replace. The first one is Dreamwood Hill to the end of the year-round main, and that's actually down in front of Hutchins Motel. That's about 2,400 linear feet, 4 gate valves, and 12 service replacements. And that piece of the project would also allow for year-round water up on Dreamwood Hill, which is presently seasonal. The next area is Highbrook Road to West Street, and it's the end of Highbrook Road that has close to the Moose. I think that's as good a description as I can get. There's 1,150 feet of water main to be replaced, 7 gate valves, and 2 services to be replaced in that section. The next area is East Hillside Drive to Lookout Point Road. There's 1,000 feet of water main replacement, 6 gate valves, and 12 service replacements. There's a small piece of water main we'd like to replace right by Days Inn. There's actually a T up next to that retaining wall that we wouldn't be able to get at easily unless there was the Route 3 project wasn't going on. There's about 400 linear feet of water main to replace there, and 4 gate valves and 1 service replacement. And that's actually the cross-country line that comes down from Duck Brook Road and actually goes under that building. I don't know if that's kind of a unique situation there. Next area is the north end of Highbrook Road tie-in, which is just the COA end side of it. And all we're going to do is provide service going up Highbrook Road so that we can loop around that main on Highbrook Road. There's 55 feet of main replacement, 2 gate valves, and 1 hydrant to replace in that section. The next area is to relocate the main into the right-of-way at the bluffs. There's a large section of main that goes down over the bluffs and goes basically on the old route of the Bar Harbor Road. There's 2,250 feet of main replacement, 1 gate valve, and 2 services to replace there. Next section is heading back into town, West Street to Eagle Lake Road. There's 1,450 linear feet of water main replacement, 3 gate valves, 14 service replacements, and 1 hydrant to replace. The next area is another area where the water main is not in the right-of-way, and that's by Sonergy. It goes actually up by their retaining wall. There's 700 linear feet of water main replacement, 1 gate valve, and 1 service replacement. And then additionally throughout the project, Maine DOT has identified different water utility conflicts. There's 12 hydrant replacements, 14 service relocations, 1 2-inch water main adjustment, we're calling it. We can get into details if we want to. 8-inch water main adjustment, there's 31 of those, and 5 10-inch water main adjustments. And those are conflicts with different stuff like sloping, cover for the water main, guardrails, new guardrails that are going to be installed, and that type of thing.
Chip, could you address whether sewer is in need of replacement on?
There is no sewer work. There are conflicts identified, and it's about $20,000 worth of conflicts that have been identified. Typically, and in most construction projects, DOT doesn't want to get into sewer issues because it's more expensive to deal with for the local utility, and so they try to avoid that. And the design for the project has obviously been had that focus, and those are various areas where there's everything from manhole adjustments to some services that have to be relocated.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions or discussion on this motion? Yes, Mr. Jordan.
I'm Rob Jordan. I live here in Bar Harbor. I'm going to vote in favor of the motion because I think this work needs to be done as part of the Route 3 project. The only thing I want to voice as a concern, an ongoing concern when we come to this type of infrastructure, is that the cost of this is not being borne by the town as a whole. It's being borne by the ratepayers. So the town as a whole is voting for the ratepayers to pay a large bill. I'm still going to vote in favor of it, but it's a long-term concern that I have going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowden.
David Bowden. I think people should know that it's an 18% increase for their water bill, but it's, as Rob pointed out, it is an impact to the taxpayers as well. We have over $500,000, almost $500,000 we pay, the taxpayers pay, for hydrant rentals to the water company, and that 18% goes on to that. And we use, for the water, all the water that the municipality uses for its bathrooms and public works and for everything. So there's a 0.5%, almost a 0.5% increase in your tax, 4.5%, that's put in the budget for this water increase, for this bond issue. And if I'm correct, next year there'll be another 0.5% because we pay this 1 year, and then when we go to the PUC for an increase, it's divided over 2 years. And so you'll be paying about a 0.5% in your tax increase this year in 2016 that you're voting on. You will see it again in 2017. So it does have an impact on the taxpayers that are in Town Hill, Crooked Road, who have no water service at all. It does affect their taxes, and I think people should know that. I'd like to see this as a ballot vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Are there any other comments, discussion, questions? Seeing none, a written ballot has been requested. Just to clarify, Mr. Bowden, you meant a written ballot as opposed to a hand count? Yes? All right.
So that's a motion.
Yes. Is there a second to the motion for written ballot? I heard a second. That is a non-debatable motion, and so all in favor of a written ballot on this question? Aye. Any opposed? No. We are going to have a hand count on whether to have a written ballot or not, as I am in doubt on the outcome. You knows we're good and strong, but I don't know how many of you there were. You have your voters' cards. The clerk is running in your direction. Give us a moment to get set up here. The question is whether to have a written ballot. It's non-debatable, Mr. Reed.
I'm not debating it.
Okay?
I thought your instructions earlier were that if 8 people wanted a written ballot, then they got one.
No. The instructions earlier, if you disagree with the moderator's statement of the outcome of a voice vote, then. Okay. All right. Ready, Pat? All right. If you are in favor of having a written ballot on this article, please hold up your voter's card. Okay. If you are opposed to a written ballot on this question, please hold up your voting card. Oh. 38 having voted in the affirmative and 106 in the negative, the motion for a written ballot fails. So we will proceed with a voice vote, hoping that I can distinguish your wishes through that. It is Article S, the water main replacement of Route 3. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Article S is approved. Article T, leases for community solar farms and power purchase agreements. To see if the town will vote to authorize the town council to enter into one or more lease agreements with, number one or more associations that are comprised entirely of local residents on terms that the council deems appropriate for the purpose of siting and developing one or more community solar farms. And number two, Revision Energy of Liberty and Portland, Maine, a solar energy design and installation company, or its successor or a similar company, on terms that the council deems appropriate for the purpose of enabling the town to enter into one or more long-term power purchase agreements for solar energy. Copies of the Community Solar Farm Letter of Intent to Execute Ground Lease and Exclusivity Agreement, which is the initial leasing document, are available at the town clerk's office. Is there a motion?
The warrant committee recommends, and I move to authorize the town council as read by the moderator on Article T.
Is there a second? I think I heard a second, yes? Yes, thank you. Okay, how many people wish to speak on this item? Okay, great. We are going to alternate pros and cons, and I'm going to ask you to please keep your comments thorough but concise so that everybody who wishes to speak has the opportunity to do so. And the first speaker will be in favor of the motion. Is someone in favor of the motion who wishes to come and speak? Mr. Friedman?
Thank you. It's great to see you all here tonight because this is an affirmation.
Mr. Friedman, will you
Yeah.
address the moderator, please?
It's an affirmation of whose town this is. This is our town. And today we have an opportunity to do something hopeful. Article T is a forward-looking act to set Bar Harbor on a course that future generations will thank us for. What do you love about living in Bar Harbor? The oceans, our beaches, our pristine lakes, the clean air, the community of friends and family, economic opportunities. The University of Maine's 2015 Climate Future Report documents how climate change threatens all of these. Bar Harbor's mean annual temperature will increase by 4 degrees Fahrenheit within 30 years. We'll have more than 13 days when temperatures exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Lyme disease will increase dramatically. 2/3 of MDI's plant and animal species are at risk from the introduction of and expansion of exotic species and potentially invasive diseases and pests. The number of extreme precipitation events will double, polluting our lakes and streams, exacerbating pine needle blight, and threatening farms, winter recreation, and local road and stormwater systems. In Bar Harbor, sewer ratepayers are facing a $9 million system upgrade to handle extreme stormwater runoff events. Divide that by 1,425 ratepayers, and that comes to $6,300 for each one. Ocean temperatures will rise by 41/100ths of a degree per year, causing shifts in marine populations, loss of species, and ocean acidification. Sea level will rise by 3 feet by 2050, causing beaches and salt marshes to disappear, flood zones to move inland, and rising insurance premiums. The good news is that tonight we have an opportunity to take the future into our own hands, to take a stand that says we care about the quality of life for our children and their children. Voting yes on this article authorizes the town council to lease town land and roofs for the purposes of siting community solar farms and power purchase agreements to provide power to the municipality. Your yes vote will directly reduce carbon emissions, employ Maine residents, slow the flow of our energy dollars to distant fossil fuel producers, enhance our image as a green tourist destination, and save money. Every one of the 9 residents of the solar farm will be removing 2.5 tons of carbon from our skies every year. Objections center around 2 issues. One, is it fair to lease town property for the benefit of 9 residents buying into the solar farm? And 2, fears of harm to the roof of the salt shed. The solar farm proposed for the salt shed would supply electricity for up to 9 Bar Harbor families to showcase the viability of photovoltaics and community solar projects. This pilot project would give residents who do not have good solar exposure the opportunity to demonstrate how solar alternatives work technically and financially. Low-cost financing is available to help make participation available to most citizens. Our hope is that more than 9 will be interested in participating, and these residents will be directed to future projects contemplated by the town, COA, and others. Concerns about the salt shed roof are unfounded in fact and in experience. Thousands of installations have been made on rooftops throughout Maine and New England without incident, even through hurricanes. Our salt shed in particular is ideal for solar panels. These panels, weighing 2.7 pounds per square foot, would be attached to the same superstructure that the metal roof itself is attached to. Since the 6-inch by 12-inch laminated beams and all the cross bracing are completely exposed inside the shed, it will be easy to safely attach the solar panels directly to the wooden supports. It would not hang from the roofing material. Of course, the manufacturer guarantees the roofing against rupture or failure for 45 years due to perforation. How else could the roof be attached to the building? The roof has been attached to the wooden structure with 10,000 screws. The proposed solar panels would require far fewer fasteners. In fact, this article does not bind or limit the town to the salt shed. It simply allows the council to enter into long-term leases of any town property for solar power. For example, there's some interest in using the old Gray's Pit site off Route 3, adjacent to Seabury Drive subdivision, for a solar farm. Article T will allow the town to turn this forgotten parcel into a solar asset. The handouts at the registration table have 4 pages that clarify Revision Energy's commitment to safeguarding town property and resources, and tables from the solar symposium that town manager Cornell Knight and I attended in Bangor last month. A graph illustrating the falling price of photovoltaic energy, one showing Maine's share of solar energy among the states, and one showing the advantages of small-scale solar projects to energy companies, ratepayers, and society. It would be much easier to shrug our collective shoulders and say, what difference can a few of us in tiny Bar Harbor make anyway? Some say the risks could outweigh the benefits, so why bother? Well, the change starts here and now. With our prominence as a popular tourist destination, Bar Harbor has an outsized influence on the rest of the state and the nation. By voting for this article, we're saying that we care, that we can make a collective difference, and we are making a significant statement that we will take the future into our own hands. A New York University Yale study revealed that every solar installation in a community increased the likelihood that others would follow suit. This is our chance to get the ball rolling in Bar Harbor. Squandering this opportunity would just be another nail in the coffin of climate change. Thank you for coming to town meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the motion? Sir.
Michael Blythe, Salisbury Cove. None of us in opposition are against solar energy. We all believe in its possibilities. We are against where it's proposed to locate this, and that is on the salt shed. It's true, the salt shed does have a 45-year warranty on its roof. And it's true, that roof is held on by screws. But the screws were galvanized at the same time as the roof was installed. They are part of the basic design of a building that cost this town $240,000. By putting additional weight, additional stress, additional holes, this warranty, will, I'm sure, will be invalidated and will eventually cease to, or rather cause, the salt shed to cease to be a proper protection for the salt inside. There's no reason that this should be located there. If they want to put it elsewhere, I think you'll find most people will support this. But in 40 years of building large ships and very large offshore structures, I've never heard of putting this sort of thing on top of such a slender roof. This roof is the width, the dimension of 3 human hairs side by side. It's a wonderful design, drawn up by some very good architects, but it's not designed to take the load of 150 or 160 of these solar panels. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone who would like to speak in favor of the motion? Mr. Dam?
Hi there, I'm Ed Dam from Bar Harbor. Got 2 houses on Ledge Lawn. Now, a lot of the houses downtown, in the center of town, almost everybody's got a south side facing roof. There's a lot of houses that have some big trees, so I don't know, I'd probably say like maybe 70% of the houses downtown have south side facing roof. Subtract the tree problem, I don't know, maybe there's at least 60% of the folks downtown could probably put solar on their roof. I like the sun. I'd like in the future to have great-great-grandchildren that could still have some sort of thing as far as, you know, when they say, you burnt oil? I can't believe you burnt oil. We could have used pharmaceuticals. Why could have stayed alive if we could have made some pharmaceuticals from the oil? So I'd like to have as much of things switched to renewable energy as possible. I wouldn't mind having propellers on people's roof if they got enough wind and it doesn't block somebody's something. But I think that this is a good thing for the town to try out, and I think, like it says there, if it works out that maybe the shed isn't it, maybe you'll find a different spot, but at least you have the ability to go look for it. So I'm all for it.
Thanks, Mr. Dan. I think I saw a hand to speak in opposition. Yes, please come up.
I'm Mike Sclosey, Bar Harbor resident, and I have 2 points to make. Part of it was already made by the gentleman about the salt shed. And I know that Councilor Friedman has written that in his op-ed piece in the Islander about how the salt shed can in fact take it. But the truth of the matter is that if the salt shed leaks after these panels are mounted, nobody's going to call up Councilor Friedman. Instead, they're going to call up the Department of Department of Public Works, rather, and they're going to call up Chip Reeves. So what I'd like to do is first ask Chip to address, as an engineer and as a professional and as the person who has to deal with any problems that come up, what his professional take is strictly on putting the solar panels on the salt shed. Then when Chip is done, I have one other brief observation I'd like to make.
If you don't mind, we'll hold your question, make your other observation, and then we'll ask Mr. Reeves to come to the microphone.
Okay, that'll work too.
Okay.
Well, I served on the appeals board for 9 years here in Bar Harbor and stepped away last year. And back probably around 07 or 08, we had a gentleman who owned a sailing ship taking passengers out sailing around Frenchman Bay, and he had had a fracas with one of the hoteliers and could no longer dock his ship with the hotelier, and so he was searching for an alternative, and he approached Charlie Phippen, the harbor master, and said, I'd like to dock my boat, you know, at the town pier, load up people and so forth, and, you know, I'm a resident of Bar Harbor, cut me some slack. Charlie said, absolutely not. We have an ordinance against that. You can't do it. So this boat owner
You're going to get
came-
to the sand salt shed, yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll tie it in. So he came to the appeals board and I'll be briefer than Councilor Friedman. He came to the appeals board to appeal this and basically wanted to use the town pier for private gain. The appeals board voted unanimously against this, not because we thought he was a bad guy. We listened to the arguments about, gee, people come to Bar Harbor, want to go sailing. If I don't land at the pier, I don't know where I can dock, and on and on. But the point is, the tangential benefit that would accrue to the town was slight. The benefit to him was pretty obvious, and we said no to using the town property. Now, in a number of the articles, and my friend Ted Kaufman recently in an op-ed article talked about the fact that Revision, who is the company that's involved with this proposal, and College of the Atlantic have been discussing how best to do this. And my question is, why don't we do this on the property of College of the Atlantic? If they think it's a great idea, there's a huge tract of land on Norway Drive, right in the area of the Crooked Road.
Mr. Sikolasky, will you direct your comments to the
Yes, I'm
moderator,
sorry.
please?
There's a huge tract of land. I believe it was the Peggy Rockefeller farm. It was donated to College of the Atlantic. There are already a bunch of solar panels in that field. So if College of the Atlantic thinks this is a great idea, then I would suggest that College of the Atlantic use that land, which is pretty much cut down of trees and other things that would interfere, and do it that way. I think solar energy is something that we really do have to invest in. I do believe in anthropogenic climate change, that is, man-induced climate change. Come to my house, I'll show you all the CFLs and the LEDs. I drive a hybrid Camry, which incidentally, if gasoline stays at under $3 a gallon, will never pay out, but that's okay, that's on me. But I don't see us using the town property for the benefit of the 9 households, no matter how benign that may seem.
All right, I think you've
That's
got
it.
your point. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to make a list of questions that I hear for Mr. Reeves, and then we'll go to him and try to get those all at once. Is there someone prepared to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to? Yes, in the back. And I'm going to ask people to try to keep their comments to about 3 minutes, if you could, so we make sure we get everybody who wants to speak. We do have a handy timer to help us out. Mr. Parity, you ready to rock and roll with that?
Hi.
So you'll know when your 3 minutes are coming up. Mr. Katona.
Good, thank you. Steve Katona, resident of Bar Harbor. I'm in favor of the proposal. Revision has also done an engineering study of this project, and I believe that it passes their muster, although I think it is useful to look at all aspects of it from an engineering point of view, as Mr. Blythe did. I would like to make a point of information. This particular project is not associated with College of the Atlantic, and College of the Atlantic is separately also working on possible plans for an additional solar array at the Peggy Rockefeller farm. So the previous commenters' points are well taken, that the land is well suited, but of course lots of study and community surveys and so forth will have to be done before that next project is implemented. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katona. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? There's a gentleman in the back whose hand's been up a few times. Come on up, and then we'll go to you next.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram. I live in Bar Harbor. I'm fully supportive of solar power. My only question is that this association that wants to put the solar panels on the salt shed out at our new $3.1 million facility is a private association, so to speak, and the benefit of those solar panels for the time being are only going to benefit them while endangering the structural integrity of our salt shed. There's no way in the world you can convince me, if they get up on this shed next to these buildings here and they begin to drill, I don't care how few or how many screws they put in there, they are going to harm the integrity of that roof. I agree with the gentleman that spoke a few minutes ago about the Peggy Rockefeller Farm and COA and other places. There is other town-owned land where we don't have to endanger one of our brand-new buildings. And here again, I'm not opposed to solar power. I'm in full favor of it, but just not on our new $3.1 million facility that we haven't even finished paying for yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? Mr. Beard.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. Last year, I put solar panels on my house. It's my major investment, my house. It's where I live and where I hope my kids will live. Why would I do that if I thought that the solar panels were going to endanger the roof of my house? I wouldn't do it. So I guess I'd just point out that I think that unless Mr. Reeves, points out something different, I would trust that we could engineer this solar array not to damage our salt shed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Beard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Right here.
I'm James Kittler. I'm a member of the Warrant Committee with the Town of Bar Harbor, have been for half a dozen years or so. I'm speaking against this, and again, as everybody feels called upon to declaim, I am in favor of solar power. I understand that, as an engineer, the costs of solar power, of solar panels will continue to come down, and maybe someday it will be economically feasible even without subsidies. But for now, it depends on the subsidies which come from government to make it, for individuals and for towns, economically feasible. We all know, or we all should know by now, that subsidies that come from government can be changed. Governments change, politics change, policies change, and at some point those subsidies may fall away. We depend upon revision at this point for guarantees regarding these panels. I'm sure the people in revision are good people with good intentions. However, if those subsidies fail, they will go away from this business. Their guarantees will not mean anything. And we will be left with a structure, with a set of panels which may or may not work in the event of that failure. I suggest, whereas an individual may choose to take upon themselves the risk of putting panels on their roof and live with the subsidies, live with the uncertainties, et cetera, and that's fine. As an individual, they have a right to do that, but I do not feel that this is the proper role of a town, municipality, using the tax revenues of its citizens for this purpose. Therefore, I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kittler. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the proposal? Yes, Mr. Hockman.
Matthew Hockman, Bar Harbor, also on the Warrant Committee. And as I read the warrant article, all that we are voting on today is whether to allow the town to enter into a 30-year lease rather than the 15-year leases we're now allowed to, and a power purchase agreement with Revision or with a similar company. I share concerns about the salt shed roof, but we're not actually voting on whether this goes on the salt shed roof. The text of the warrant article does not mention the salt shed roof at all. The explanation does, but that's not actually part of the warrant. I believe if this article passes, we're still free to come to the town council and say, we would like you to look at an alternate site, where I believe they already have a couple alternate sites in mind that could work. I am in favor of this. And as I said, all we're voting on is whether to allow the town to enter into that 30-year lease and power purchase agreement with Revision or a similar company. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
My name is Jay Giegel. I don't want to speak in opposition or in favor of, I have a question. How are the 9 people that get involved in this selected?
Okay, I'm adding that to the question list. And Mr. Libby, you want to speak in opposition? Yes. Come on down.
Hi, I'm Seth Libby, a resident of Bar Harbor and also a member of the Warrant Committee. And like everybody else, I want to declare that I like solar, and I think that Bar Harbor should find a way to incorporate more solar into our energy mix. The problem that I have with this issue, really, when we look at the warrant, there are 2 initiatives. One is for us to buy solar under power purchase agreements, which I think is a great idea. We might provide some land, investors will build a solar farm, we'll buy energy at a discount. It's a win-win for everybody in the town. The community solar farm, you know, I have some reservations about this. I think the first problem has been discussed is that we have the use of municipal land for a private initiative that's going to benefit select individuals. 9 people, but we don't know how those people will be chosen. We don't know how the financing will be made available to support people on low and fixed incomes, if at all. So when we think about these types of initiatives, I think that municipal land is a resource, and I think we should try to protect it. And to the extent that it's made available for private initiatives, it should be rare, and I think it should be justified. And in this case, I don't think we've heard anything, at least during the Warrant Committee hearings and subsequent meetings that I've attended, why municipal land is necessary. I mean, if this is such a great idea, get 9 people together, get your funding, and go out and find a piece of private land and lease it. And in this case, it seems like we haven't heard anything about why the municipal land is necessary, what efforts were made to find suitable private land, and whether any suitable private land is available for this type of project. I think when you have a private initiative with municipal land, using municipal land should be your last resort, not your first option. My second objection really has to do with how the benefits of this project are distributed. And when I think about existing projects in this town, private initiatives, if you will, that use municipal land, there are 2 discernible benefits. There's income to the town. That income may be significant in some cases. In other cases, it might be nominal. But there are also general benefits that are available to all citizens of the town. So we think about the AT&T tower on the firehouse. Everybody with a cell phone downtown benefits from that, residents and visitors. Think about Kids Corner. If you are a family with children, you can use the